Dr. Schleifer, you greeted me here today with an elbow bump. When you were at the White House yesterday, how did the president greet you?
Well, it's funny. Actually, everybody was shaking his hands, but I told him we ought to do a bump, and we actually did a bump.
Well, maybe he'll change his approach. Tell us about the kind of tone from the administration, from the president. What level of urgency were you sort of sensing in the room yesterday?
Well, there's no question that the entire administration that was there, the president, the vice president, the head of the CDC, the head of the FDA, and a litany of others, the head of the HHS, Secretary Azar, they were all intensely focused on how quickly we could move forward. And I think what emerged was a three-part strategy. Basically, we look at whatever's available now, any antiviral that exists, and we try and throw it at this problem and hope that it works. I'm not super optimistic that that's going to yield something, but I'm hoping that it does.
You're not super optimistic?
I'm not super optimistic.
Why?
Well, for example, that was tried with Ebola, and it really didn't do that much, the standard antivirals. Now, maybe the coronavirus is a little different, but I certainly I'm hopeful that it will work.
What about your company in particular in fighting that? What do you think you guys could maybe accomplish here?
Well, so we're actually, I want to just correct something. You said this began in January. This actually began about 35 years ago when George Yancopoulos, our
chief always a short story with you.
Well, our chief scientist and co-founder, 35 years ago as a graduate student, had this vision that you could make mice with a human immune system. And so once you made mice with a human immune system, you could immunize those mice with whatever you wanted in a rapid way, and then you could turn that into human antibodies that you could actually give to people to treat them. That's exactly what the team was able to do for Ebola, and we believe that's exactly what can happen here.
So you think your approach is going to be more effective ultimately in finding a coronavirus treatment than the standard?
Well, I don't like to think of us, we're competing against others. We're really competing against the virus.
No, but you're competing against time. I mean, that's what I'm thinking about is we have a lot at stake here. Do we cancel the Summer Olympics?
Yes.
What about, I'm hearing March Madness, the NBA, the MLB. I mean, you think about schools that are being shut down in this country. I guess the central question is, could you come up with a treatment that you felt worked well enough to forestall that kind of massive public reaction?
Well, I hope so. I mean, our timeline, we've laid it out publicly, we've showed it to people, and we're committed to keep you updated literally on a real-time basis. But where we are is we've immunized, these mice have been made, we've been working on them for decades. The technology, the seamless end-to-end technology is in place. We can go from immunization all the way to a giant 10,000-liter scale manufacturer. That's all in place. We've started the immunization. We already have tubes with lots of antibodies in them. Over the course of the next weeks, we're going to screen them for the best couple that we think could block this virus. Then we're going to use our tricks to immediately get it into scale-up and be making 200,000 prophylactic doses by August timeframe. Now, how quickly that can be deployed, and we'll do that every month, how quickly that can be deployed will depend on some of the early data that we have, some animal data, what we will see in patients. But I think we'll work closely with Dr. Fauci, and I think we can get a lot done very quickly.
So we're talking getting into human trials by August. And your expectation is that even as you start human testing, you could quickly get some initial data and then potentially deploy even more broadly.
Exactly. And so our concept is, let's just not make, a lot of people would only be able to make a small amount that they can use for human testing, and then they'd have to solve the scale-up problem. I think our team's approach has allowed us to say we can do this in parallel. Let's start pouring out 200,000 doses of this stuff. Hopefully that will work prophylactically starting in August, in parallel while we're doing the clinical testing. And as soon as we get a green light that it looks good, we'll be able to deploy those large-scale approaches.
Is there more that you need from the government right now? You already have an expanded partnership with HHS. There was some joking around from the president yesterday that the drug companies already have too much money. I mean, do you need more from the administration?
Yeah. Right now, I think we're getting everything we need. I don't think it's literally about money for us. I'm glad to see that there's a bipartisan approach to get a lot of money thrown at this, because if we don't have a lot of resources in all sorts of places, and there are smaller companies that need real dollars because they don't have the dollars to do this, but cash is not constraining for us. I should say that this is an incredibly important moment for the country, for the world, but it's important that the pharmaceutical and the biotechnology industry deliver. We go astray sometimes, and as an industry, we don't always do everything perfect, and You could just look at the polls. Everybody hates us. This is a time where I hope we actually are successful for the health of people, and I hope that will transform to people understanding that we need this incredible, rich treasure of our biotechnology industry to be successful, to solve these types of problems.
What kind of feedback are you getting from the investor community about your commitment to this infectious disease? Often you find investors are not so enthralled with companies getting in to help in these kinds of situations because the payoff isn't there at the end.
Yeah. We don't really manage the business that way. We try and do what's right, and our assumption, as my dad's motto always was, if you want to do well, do good, basically. And so we are trying to do well by doing good. The investors will be cared for. Our investors, if you've been with us over the last decade, we were the 7th best performing stock. We hope we can do that again. Our bottom line is focusing on getting people well, getting people's lives saved, and the rest will take care of itself.
Lastly, I just want to ask you to address one question that's come up with other companies, the affordability of these potential solutions. Right. You know, Sanofi was called out for not declaring that its Zika vaccine, if it developed one, would be affordable. A company ultimately dropped out of developing that program. Secretary Azar was asked if he could commit that this would be affordable. What can you say to that?
Look, I can tell you it doesn't do us any good if we want to save lives to make something that's not affordable. And we've prided ourselves in making our drugs affordable, and we will make this drug affordable. There's only one buyer, probably the government, or if we do this individually, we're committed to making this affordable.
And you think your peers are as well?
I do think so. I think everybody in that room is not doing this for the benefit of their investors first. That's secondary. They really want to be part of the solution of what could be a catastrophic problem.
So you think August we could be seeing a treatment if this goes well?
Well, we certainly will have the material made that could be deployed, and we have to do the testing. And once that testing is in, and I know Dr. Fauci was in that room, and he's committed to move rapidly. So is the HHS. And so as soon as we get data, we can do this. Remember, we got data through the NIH in the Congo, in a war zone, where this approach led to an overwhelming efficacy that saved lives, literally.
Ebola, right.
For Ebola.
All right.
So.